Happy Friday, everybody. Happy 4th of July for those of you in the U.S. Josh here with On the Wrong Lead. Another episode of You've Gotta Be Sha Tinning Me. I am joined, as always, by Mr. Matt Carlson. Matt, how are you doing, my friend?
Well, happy to have a day off work. Happy it's not 100 degrees here, finally. Like, the weather's been miserable. It just went from cold to hot. So finally get like one nice day and I'm not working. Just watch my kids all day. So
There you go. Yeah, so obviously we missed last week because I was in California for Andrew's wedding. And, congrats to Andrew. Met his wife for the first time. She's absolutely lovely. And, we had a great time at the wedding. Me, Caleb, and Mark went out there. And speaking of weather, the weather in California is wild, dude. I landed in San Francisco. Now, mind you, I was in Chicago. In Chicago, we just had a run of days in the 90s. And so I'm like, well, I'm going to California. It's going to be hot there too. So we go to San Francisco. We land in San Francisco. I'm in shorts in like a t-shirt or a polo. And I'm like looking around. Everyone's wearing like pants and jackets. I get outside. It's like 60. And which is like, when I was in grade school, junior high, high school, like, yeah, that was warm enough for shorts. Yeah, not anymore. Not at my age. And I was like, what the heck? And I'm thinking all I packed were shorts and t-shirts and polos. Like I had nothing. Like I was like, I'm gonna be freezing. We drive, 45 minutes out to San Jose. I was still in the Bay Area, and it's a little bit warmer. It's like 70, I don't know, 75 ish, high of like 78, 79. Beautiful. I mean, just absolutely beautiful weather in San Jose. It was nuts. We spent a couple days there. Then we went to Livermore, which is a little bit further west, where the wedding was going to be, and we spent a couple days there, checking out wineries and stuff. Hot. Another. I'm like, dude, like I feel like we didn't go that far, but it was a huge difference. From
it's
Livermore to SFO was like about an hour, a little bit more. Because we went to downtown San Francisco on Sunday for a little bit. Unfortunately, they had a lot of streets blocked off. I guess it was their Pride Parade was on Sunday, and so a lot of the streets were blocked off, and so like we couldn't really get anywhere. So we basically just went to like the pier, like the Fisherman's Wharf and all the stuff out there, and kind of walked down the piers and checked out the views and stuff. It was really nice. We had a pretty decent meal somewhere, and but yeah, once again, it was just like it was kind of chilly. Like
yeah.
uh, I
California gets those weird like microclimates, even when you're touring a winery, they'll be like, oh yeah, we grow these grapes here because within this like 50-foot radius, it's this weather. And like right over there, it's way hotter. And it's just a weird place when it comes to weather and some of that stuff. But
yeah.
yeah, be
Any
prepared.
oh, go ahead.
I was going to say also, I mean, I always reminded myself the first time I was out in San Diego, I was like, oh man, like why does California have so many homeless people? And then you step off the plane and you're like, man, this is the place to be homeless because this weather never changes. All right. Like it is 70 year round. It is awesome. All right. If you're going to be homeless, like California coastline, that's the
Oh
place to
man.
be. It's ideal.
Yeah. Um, I was gonna say, any plans for 4th of July weekend?
We're going over families tomorrow. I got nothing going on today, but tomorrow we're having kind of a family picnic thing, and I don't know what I'm on making. I'm on some food duty and ice and drinking my own beer, and that's about it. So,
There you go.
but
Yeah, we're going out to breakfast here in about an hour, um, because we have every holiday we get breakfast with my wife's family. But Matt, if you're not doing anything, may I recommend maybe checking out the DRF sale, 4th of July sale, 15% off. July 15 off is a coupon there. Use it as many times as you'd like. Friends from DRF, helping us out with some data and stuff. So want to shout them out. But obviously with
That's
Sha
my
Tin, oh, go ahead.
that's my real plans today is actually sitting around and gambling on a lot of things. So that will come in
Mm-hmm.
handy for me. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, good old Saratoga. I'm sure we're only about 2 or 3 days out before we swear it off again, and then the real meet starts.
Yeah.
But yeah, we I got our PPs up here, and yeah, we're gonna go ahead and go through this late pick three. Go ahead, maybe pick another race or two out to look at, but we'll start here with race 9, the Chow Silver Plate, which is a handicap. Class 3 racing, 1,200 meters. And, you know, it was funny because we were talking. This is the race I believe you were mentioning. Magnifique in here, coming off 2 wins and a third, or a sixth place after moving up in class. Um, Zach gets aboard. This horse is probably going to take all the money, but this horse looks pretty good in here. I looked at this race and I was trying to kind of trying to get a good idea of what like the pace scenario was going to look in here. And you really do have a lot of horses that are going to want to come from off of it. You don't really have a ton of speed in here. Um, I just think Magnifique is going to trip out. I think Zach's going to have this horse in like third or fourth on the rail or in the two path, and he's just going to be able to make his move when he wants. I think he's going to be tough in here. The only way I see this race going differently is if one of my two Bs kind of steals this one on the front end. And I feel like I'm betting. I like so the 10 Northern Fireball. Um, Honestly, if he was drawn inside, I would like him a lot more. Unfortunately, he's drawn out in 12th post. Has shown speed at 1,200 meters before, specifically Happy Valley. He was drawn inside. Now, like I said, he's kind of got the unfortunate draw here in the 12th post. Um, but he's gonna be your low weight in here with the bug. He's gonna be carrying 115, just like the 12. So, you know, low weight, with the speed. I mean, the draw kind of stinks, but maybe we get a little lucky there. And I feel like this is a Matt horse, Righteous Aryan, the 5. I think this horse has got. I mean, obviously last time he dueled for the lead and he got pushed to the lead. But even going back, I think this is the horse that's kind of been sneaky fast early. And I think that he's just the kind of horse that um, you know it, he might not necessarily need the lead or want the lead, but I think there's a chance that he gets it here because he's kind of your inside drawn speed almost in this race. I mean, there's just nothing else. I mean, I don't really know what the 2 symbol of strength is going to do first time here in Hong Kong. The one gummy is only got a couple of starts at this distance, and he's been running. Um, kind of mid pack in all weather races. Um, but and then like Magnifique, like I mean, not to say that Zach won't go to the lead, but I think that he's not going to feel absolutely pressed that he needs to. So maybe the 5 Righteous Aryan kind of just inherits the lead. So I got the 6 Magnifique as an A. I got the 5 Righteous Aryan and the 10 Northern Fireball as a B. Matt, where did you land?
Yeah, I mean, you're right on a couple counts here. I guess on Righteous Aryan, that is a me horse because I've bet that horse so many times. So that is the horse I'll be disappointed when he wins because it's one of those that like I've been like I've bet that horse so many times and I finally hopped off and now it gets home. Overall, though, I agree with you. I think Magnifique's going to be tough in here. I think if that horse is right, obviously he's coming off a 3 month layoff, so there's some questions if this horse is sound, but he's getting bet like he's sound. The trials look like he's sound. He's got Zach. He's got a draw. He looks faster. Again, if he's running close to right on this, so I think he's going to be tough to beat. I do think he's much deserving favorite right now. I think he's sitting somewhere around even money or 6 to 5 or something like that. So you're not going to get much value, but I do think he's worthy of that price in here, to be honest. So not much else left to say there. My bees went a little bit different than you. I went a couple different places. I went to the four super legends. I think the past two, he's just kind of been a victim of circumstance a little bit, right? Two back, he was wide with Brittany Wong. Same kind of last up. If you read the notes and watch the replay, he was kind of hung three wide, had to cut in and drop back. If you toss those last two, I think some of his races do fit. I think he's capable of getting back to form. He's got a better draw now on the six post. And I mean, Ellis Wong has been on a heater, right? He's kind of been one of the best jockeys going the past couple weeks, even with losing his bug from 10 pounds down to 5, like I think a week ago or so. So if he can continue his run of good form and, if the draw helps this horse, I think he has a shot to be there. And I think you'd get a decent price on him. And he should kind of be mid pack, right? He's not going to be that deep closer, which to what you said, this race doesn't really set up for a deep closer in my mind, because there's a lot of them and there's just not a lot of pace up front. So, um, with that, I think of any of the deep closers, I'd want to use the 3 Lifeline Express. I think he's obviously had a really good run of hitting the board. Obviously wants to come from way off it. I do think if this track ends up being soft, which I don't think it has much of a chance to, but there is some rain in the forecast. I think it's just that typical like Hong Kong showers or whatever, and the drainage is so good. Like, who knows on timing? But if it for whatever reason does come up softer, I do think this is the horse that you want, right? Otherwise, I'm not sure he has enough to get home on firm ground. But maybe if it's good to yielding or something like that, right? He can get there. So I will toss that one in because I do think his figs fit. I think Jimmy Orman has run okay here. John Size has obviously been having a great year, so maybe right. I think depending on price, he might be worth some value if he's north of like 8 or 9 to 1, just based on hey, maybe it falls apart, maybe the ground's there for him. But otherwise, most of my money will be through Magnifique. I will say Super Legends is probably a much stronger B than Lifeline Express is in here, but yeah, I think Magnifique is maybe all you need in here to get home.
All right, race 10. Another 1,200-meter race, Class 2 racing, the Philip Chen Trophy here. And yeah, I was pretty spread in this race for it being a smaller field for Hong Kong, but interested to see where you landed here, Matt.
Yeah, I probably went a little bit outside the box here. I think it's a really competitive race, but to me, the one that looks like he's in form best is the 3 Tomodachi Kokoro. I think he just looks like the one who's kind of due for a win, given getting a decent draw, getting the right weight, etc. Part of the reason for that, he had a 3-month break coming in. Like if you look back, I think 4 starts off that all weather race. He came up lame after that race, and
Mm.
so he took 3 months off. He's been back now for kind of 3 different efforts. Those efforts have all looked a bit better. Like if you look, I think he's jumped like a couple points, a couple lengths for all 3 races that he's run since then. And to me, that's just kind of saying, okay, like this horse is kind of back to the form that he needs to eventually catch a win, right? And obviously, you'll get a decent price in here because by no means do I think this horse should be favored, but I do think just value wise, this is the play that I'd want to make in here. I also think he probably gets a setup because unlike last race, this race I think has a decent amount of speed signed on in here. There's a couple up front that I think will duel and potentially burn out. That said, I'm probably using both those horses still too as Bs. But yeah, I think just lone A in here for me, just based on value, is going to be the 3 Tomodachi Kokoro. And then for Bs, like I said, I think the two, speeds in here that may beat each other up, unfortunately, are the 7 Call Me Glorious and the 9, Cherry's Boy Harmony and Blessed, right? And a part of the reason for this, right? I've looked every time I try to predict a pace melting in Hong Kong, it never happens. Like for
Hmm.
whatever reason, someone jumps bad, like someone just doesn't get up, someone gets a better trip, it just never materializes. And so like I'm not gonna fall victim to that again. I'm not gonna like I think it was like last week or 2 weeks ago, like I tossed speed and I ended up bombing out of a pick 3 because I was like, oh yeah, that horse fits, but like he's probably gonna get, challenged up front. And then he never did, and he just wired all the way around and I blew a pick 3 because of it. Anyway, not mad about it. But I'm hesitant to toss either of these horses, right? But that said, right, like they're drawn 1 and 2, and I think pace wise they kind of map next to each other. So to me, when you have 2 horses kind of coming out of the gate, both wanting to do the same thing and get the lead, that's probably when it'll end up melting. And so because of that, look, I think both fit on figures. I think if one gets the lead, they probably have a much better shot of just wiring all the way around. but I'm going to make both Bs because I do think just going nose to nose right out of the gate, if they jump well, they're going to be vying for position, and that's going to end up maybe hurting both their chances. So I'll be the 3 Tomodachi Kokoros an A, and then the 7 and the 9, both as Bs in here.
Yeah, so I think we kind of see it similarly with the pace, but I actually think the 2 is probably the fastest horse early, Lady's Choice. And so, well, actually, I don't know necessarily this is the fastest horse early, but I mean, Harmony and Bless is pretty fast, but I feel like Harmony and Bless has shown a little bit more um, uh, a little bit more of a different dimension of being able to kind of sit off, just off and run pretty well. I mean, I know last time, right? Um, only made up about a length, and it looked like they kind of just went, the horse just kind of went around in a circle and just sat in third the whole time. But obviously, that was a pretty tough race. I mean, lost to Wunderbar, who's a pretty decent horse.
Yeah, really good horse.
Um, yeah, and only missed by a length there. So. I like Harmony and Blessed. Obviously, I'm pretty much contractually obligated to bet that horse every time it runs at this point. But I actually really like the two ladies' choice. Um, and I like the two ladies' choice just because this horse seems to have a kind of a bit of a form pattern, where it kind of runs a little bit of an every other pattern here. And I mean, on top of that, just logically, last time, right, the kind of off race, I mean, that was a Group 3, right? We're coming back down to Class 2. I think going to have a little bit of an easier time here. Um, and I mean, oddly enough, was bet in that Group 3 like this horse gets bet in Class 2. Uh, you know, I, I don't know if people just haven't caught on that this is actually a sneaky decent horse or what, but um, yeah, this horse's 2 wins in the last 5 starts have both been on the engine. Gets Matthew Poon aboard again, who won on the engine with this horse 2 back, and is drawn pretty decently. Now, of course, the other speed is also drawn well in the 7 and the 9, but yeah, I just think that Lady's Choice kind of looking at his form pattern, this seems to be kind of the peaking part. And then obviously Harmony and Blessed, I'm going to got both those horses as A's. I have two B's. Obviously, the 4 Master of My Universe coming in here on good form. Zach stays aboard. And, I feel like with this race, you do kind of need to take at least one off the pace horse in case this thing does melt down a little bit. I know you're going with Tomodachi Kokoro. I'm gonna go with Master of My Universe as kind of being the probably the best of the closers. Um, and then the 6 Dancing Code is another horse I'm gonna use, and this is more of a just like a kind of like a figure play. This seems like a horse that has got some really nice numbers. Doesn't seem to like to win. It hasn't won in the last 5 starts. However, um, this is a horse that they've kind of been jumping around distances with. And, last time this horse ran at 1200, Ben Thompson was aboard. So, we can just cross the line through that one. But at this track and distance in 4 starts, this is a horse that's got to win in a second. Now hasn't done it at this class yet. Maybe, this is more of a Class 3 horse and is just kind of, stuck in Class 2 hell here. But I think this is a horse that's got a couple of competitive races if you go back. And, you know, uh, it is I think one of the few horses I think that has numbers at this distance that kind of match up with horses like the 3 Tomodachi Kokoro and the 4 Master of My Universe. So I just thought he would be kind of sneaky here, because it's got Ellis Wong aboard, and you got some of the other horses that I think are going to take a bit of money. So I think you might get a little bit of a price here on the 6 Dancing Code, but yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with the 2 and excuse me, the 2 and 9 as A's, and I got the 4 and 6 as B's. Anything else here?
No, I mean it's weird to me, right? I mean, you kind of called it out on the two, right? It's weird to be drawn in the three post and be like, "Wow, he maps stuck getting three wide." Like that's a weird situation, but it could happen here. So
All right, let's move on to race 11, the Chairman's Day Handicap. And once again, we're going to be going 1,400 meters here. And I mean, Patch of Stars looks to loom pretty large in this race. Has since getting kind of right earlier this year, it's just rattled off three straight wins, all with Zach aboard. And oh, look, Zach is staying aboard here. Um, at this track and distance, five starts, three wins, a fourth, and off the board finish. So, um, kind of tough to look the other way on Patch of Stars. I mean, he's drawn decently again, or at least he's not drawn completely in the parking lot. He's kind of got that mid draw. But you know, we're not singling the last leg. We never single the last leg. So I got a couple other horses I like. I think the the clear second choice probably in this race is probably the three Another World, which is the horse that um, I this is I think this is a pretty solid 1,400 meter horse. Um, this is another horse that loves this track and distance. Three wins in the second in six starts, going this distance. And honestly, it's the last two starts at 1,400 meters where he kind of has fallen off a little bit. So he is a little bit off form. He's not drawn all that well, but I really do think that he's pretty clearly the second best horse in here. So I'm going to use him as a B. Um, I think the 13C Chariot could be your speed in this race because this is a race that doesn't really have a leader whatsoever. Um, you get Matthew Chadwick aboard. You are drawn wide in the 10 post, and you kind of got a bad draw, but I just don't think that there's anybody else that's going to be able to that's going to want to go. And this is at least a horse that's shown a little bit of gate speed. Um, you know, Getting up into second and third place last time early before fading out. And this is kind of a green horse too. I mean, I know he's a 5 year old, but it seems like they haven't been able to kind of get him to do what they want him to do yet. So this could be a horse that maybe if he kind of figures it out at some point, might figure it out for a race and surprise at a price. So I like the 13C Cherry a little bit, and then the 9 Superb Boy. This is another horse that I just think might go forward with the lack of leaders in here. James Orman is aboard here, and yeah, you kind of look at the Happy Valley races and you see a little bit of tactical speed um, at 1,200. So you would think that would maybe translate to 1,400 here. And I'm hoping that Orman goes ahead and sends this horse and keeps this horse a little forwardly placed. But I think all these horses are going to have a tough time trying to keep up with Patch of Stars. So that's my lone A in here. Matt, what do you got?
yeah, I went a bit different. I think probably because I just wanted to get around Patch of Stars. I think if I'm going to lean on Magnifique earlier in the leg, I didn't want to take Patch of Stars here and try and kill my own payout, right? And if Patch of Stars wins, so be it, right? Whatever. I went I went a bit sideways though in here, trying to look for some value. Two horses I went to as A's. One I really like, and that's the 7 Armor War Eagle. I think he could get lost on the board in here, and I think just kind of again, if you look at it, last out he was off a 2 month layoff. He was at a very wide draw on the C+3, which basically killed all chance, right? Like had to draw way back, had no chance to recover from where he was. Prior to that, I don't even think was all that off form, right? Just had some trouble at the start, closing, and ran into trouble in the stretch. And so I think those last couple races are tosses. And because of that, I think you get a situation where this horse probably can run better than it looks like the last two. And so to me, any return to form in this horse puts him right there. I think the trial in May looked good. I have no reason to think that, that layoff was anything that he hasn't gotten over. And I think he could, probably get back to his ways. So I think he'll get a good price on him. I think, to me, again, that's just where I'm looking for value and saying, hey, do you have circumstances where a horse can run better than he showed just based on bad trips, bad draws, etc. So that's where most of my money will be. I'll probably have a decent win bet on Armor War Eagle here. The other horse that I wanted in here is similar, but probably more of a flyer, and that's the 12 Beauty Crescent. I think if you looked at this horse back in like the winter months when he was running in December and February, etc., like he looked like he was going to just dart up to class two. Like he was at the top of class three up until those winter months were over, and then just kind of fell off a cliff, right? And he's kind of been on a pretty rapid descent through class three, like all the way towards the bottom here, right? Like he was going off towards, I think, like 135 even, and now he's down at 120. The only reason I'm using this horse now is I think that that last race, he showed something that he had before, right? And I think the 2 month layoff probably helped him a bit. There's nothing in the vet records or anything like that to say, hey, this horse was injured, but hey, maybe he was just, needed the break, needed a rest to get back on form. And so I'm not sure if you get what this horse was way back, but if this horse was running pretty well, up towards the top of class three and can get back to that form at 120, he's got to be in here with a chance. Right. And so I'm willing to pay the price at a decent number just to try and see if that's the case. Right. I think this one could potentially be back to his ways from back in like the February timeframe, maybe. And at least at the price he's at, I'm willing to take the risk. So those will both be my A's. Again, it's hard to win bet two horses, but right. I mean, I do think larger win bet on the 7, smaller win bet on the 12 for me. And then just as a B, I agree with you on Another World, the 3. I don't think he maps as well. He's obviously drawn really poor, but he does races that are competitive here. Um, downgrading from Zach to Jerry Chow isn't exactly the most encouraging move. But on the flip side, the fact that Zach was booked on this horse multiple times kind of says they think something of him. And you do get the 2 pound local break, which isn't a much, but hey, it's something. So I use the 3 as a B, but I'm pretty excited about the value you'll get on both the 7 and the 12 in here. Not that it isn't competitive field, but I think they're both going to be double digits with a chance. So.
Cool. And then for your bonus race, where'd you go?
I went back to race 1. I went to the Griffin race. You hit one of
Oh,
them and you're like,
baby.
oh man, I gotta stick with it. And on this, I mean, I do think I like these Griffin races because I think you can take advantage of what HK offers you, right? Like every trial is videoed. You see what these horses can do, and I think putting in work yields some nice payoffs. Now, granted, I think I liked one of them, and check the odds, and I'm like, oh, it's second choice. Haven't never run before, but anyway, I'm gonna go to the 11 Super Dragon. I mean, I think just you have a bunch of horses in here that look like they're not fit enough to get the distance just yet. Um, just looking at trials, looking at what these horses have done, right? They've run at 1,000. Like I think I cashed Light Years Charm on, first up, and I'm like, yeah, that's not really one I want to go back to. But if you watch the trials on Super Dragon, like this is a horse that looks like he's ready to go 1,200, right? Like the trial 2 back had like Tom Wood, like exclaiming, like basically standing up out of his chair, like past the wire. It was like an 800-meter trial, but at like the 1,000 and 1,200, the horse was just like a rocket, like gone against the competition. And so I think to me, this is the one that looks like he's going to handle the turn best. I think this is the one that's ready to go. A reminder in here, like when you have 2-year-olds, like they move them along very, very slowly here. So I do think that, you don't have a lot of Griffin horses that are ready to go the distance. And so anytime you can find a horse that kind of has that fitness already and looks like they want that, you got to take it. And so that's where I'll go kind of as my best bet. Otherwise is the 11 Super Dragon. I think he's second choice right now, like 4-1, but that's decent to me. So
Yeah, I went to race 4, the 1 turn mile, and I mean, my angle is pretty simple. I look for a race that doesn't have any pace. I look for the horse I think is going to be on the engine, and I go for it. And Beautiful Wind's going to have a bit of a, I think, tough go of it here. He's drawn in the 14 post. And he's gotten the lead the last 2 times and has failed to win. I mean, last time it even said soft lead, and he was caught basically 50 yards out, or 50 meters out. So, and that was from a pretty decent. That was from a good draw. It was from the 4 post. Now he's out in the 14 post. But I gotta tell you, man, these Class 5 races. I mean, you got some horses in here, and I was like trying to think who's gonna win, like who's gonna beat this horse. I mean, Zach is legitimately getting aboard a horse that was in last basically the entire race and like past 5 horses. And you mean it, and now okay, great, he gets the rail now, but like, I mean, I don't even know if Zach's good enough to get this horse across the wire first. Like, so yeah, I just think that this is a real bad group of horses. And I do think that that James Orman should be able to get this horse over from the 14 post. He's got a pretty long run before that turn, right? So I think he should be able to, kind of get this horse over. And I think that there's a shot that he just goes wire to wire in this one. So I'm gonna go with the One Beautiful Win. He looked to be sitting kind of at like 7 or 8 to 1, I believe, on the live odds. I had pulled it up earlier, and of course, as being the great host I am, I somehow closed it 8 to 1. He's sitting at 8 to 1 right now. I mean, this horse is just completely wide open. The favorite currently is sitting at 5 to 1. Perfect Peach, the Zach Purton horse in the rail. He's sitting at 5 to 1. I wouldn't be surprised if a horse like the 8, Smashing Express, takes a little bit of money. Getting Hugh Bowman aboard and kind of getting a better draw. But yeah, that's kind of where I landed. I take the speed. What a surprise. Matt, you picked the first race. I mean, I think we're just really staying on brand here for the people. So.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to do it for us here. And you've got to be Sha Tinning me. Obviously, check us out at onthewronglead.com, at wrong_lead on Twitter. I am at Cherry Drank. Matt is at Slow and Steadied. He'll have his full card picks up at some point after he wrangles his children. Yeah, check us out. We'll be live again next Thursday doing our Saratoga opening weekend for the 3rd time, apparently, this year. And then, check out the DRF sale. Shopdrf.com. Have a good weekend, everybody. Let's make some money.
Good luck, everybody.